Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Expand Love Show. Today, I have my co-host Eustace and beautiful Eli Martyr back in the show. So, Eli, I'm sure you guys know him. He's such an amazing figure in the raw vegan industry. He has been a fruitarian for last 7 years, and if you check out his channel, the Free Melon Society, you will find content and information that you will not find anywhere else. I promise is so deep. It comes from a space of immense learning and experience. It's exceptionally amazing. So, welcome to the show, Eli. And I would also introduce Eustace. So, Eustace has been actually on the juice, he's on his 60th day of juice fasting today. He's also a great health expert. He has lots of information and passion for body, and he's a great fan of Eli as well. So I'm very happy to have you both on the show. And Eli, would you like to start with an introduction of yourself?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me on your platform once again. We had a great talk last time as well, and it's always great to just be speaking to the community and giving our input as or in terms of what helps and sustains vitality, what improves health, what improves wellness, and the more minds we can get kind of tossing ideas back and forth, the better. Because as we know, the world is in dire need of clarity in not only this realm, but in many realms of that encompass human life. So we need as much of this as possible. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share. And just that, so very quick recap, because I mean, I'm sure we touched on some of it in our first interview, but yeah, I'm Eli Martyr, and I've got an extensive background in movement and physicality and martial arts, gymnastics, and a whole bunch of movement skills and disciplines. And I've carried that throughout my whole life up until now, to this very day. And somewhere along the line, many years ago, got onto the idea that there was a species-specific diet that was tailored to each individual animal. Human beings are no different. And all I've done in my life is simply harmonize with the fact that we are, as human beings, are not exceptions to the natural rule that Mother Nature has imposed on us. We also have a particular diet that is meant or optimally designed to be taken in by our physiology. And so the only thing that makes people like ourselves different from other people is that we're just willing to be very brutally honest about what our sensitivities dictate. That's it. It's just I think it's just a matter of being actually very honest, right? And you pop a bean, like a kidney bean, into your mouth. The honest reaction is that, oh, this bean is not food, because you can't bite. It's too hard and dense, and you can't eat it. So you spit it out and you wait for real food, right? That would be being very honest, right? So that's the only difference. And I've just done that in my life, and it turns out that gives great results. And I'm just, I can't help but deny the effects that this philosophy has brought to my life, and I'm going to keep doing it until other information is forthcoming, or it stops giving evidence that this is a better way to live.
Wow. Very beautifully summarized, so that we are seeing frugivorous beings, and this is like the species specific diet, and just like brutally honest to what is truth, and in very simple terms. Amazing. So what was it that inspired you? You kind of mentioned it in the summary that you just shared, but what was it, the biggest inspiration for you to get on this path and like follow it full power?
Biggest inspiration was I think just being in complete control of your body, right? And tightening the relationship that you have to your body, so that there are no mysteries thrown at you, right? I think it's frustrating for all people when things happen to their body that they don't understand, right? Where they don't understand why something is happening. So in order to get access to that mystery and understand, oh, okay, I am doing this and it's causing this, right? Then that mystery bothered me, right? Why do I have these allergies? Why do I have the mucus congestion? Why do I have these aches and pains in joints when I'm not necessarily injured, right? All blah, 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 on and on it goes. So that got me curious. And then over the course of time, just, reading books and doing whatever research, you start to come across information like, oh, okay, I'm doing this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. I was really wrong about this. And like, holy smokes, I got that really wrong. And so you start making corrections. And then after I adopted a healthier modality of living, then what I could notice is that if I tried to go back and test, some of the old ways that I would eat, or eat some of the old things that I would used to eat, then all of a sudden you would see trouble come about again. So it's like, okay, so some of the trouble that I experienced back when I was eating an everything, anything goes diet is because I thought this thing was healthy or innocuous or just not harmful, and it was. So it was that. It was a combination of just reading and being interested in health and wellness in the first place. So hitting the books and just trying to broaden my understandings. And also B was because I wanted to know my body. I wanted to become more intimately aware of the signals and signs that my body gives me and not be confused by them, right? And to have control over it. So, you will never, if I regiment myself and restrict myself to only a very particular set of foods, and I eat those foods in a very particular way, and I do that, I never err or sidestep from that, I can predict that I will never have mucus congestion as long as I do that, right? I can tell you right now that is what will be the effect. And when you do have a bit of mucus congestion, it's because you did a particular thing that you can identify and say, yeah, this is why that happened, right? So having that degree of predictability is very empowering because it allows you to get back on track when you do decide to make a conscious sidestep or a slight deviation. I'll give you, for example, just the other day, it was Jillian Barry's birthday. And so we all went and we had a great time. It was a lovely celebration, and we had a whole bunch of raw gourmet food. And some of it, I tried for the first time and just had fun, right? With raw food, but still gourmet, less ideal. And you feel it. You feel the difference. You do feel the difference. But the thing is, it's not what you do in the occasional time, the once in a blue moon. Your body can very, very well recover and deal with that type of temporary offense. It's what we do habitually and consistently that makes the big difference. And so anyway, yeah, just knowing the difference, being able to distinguish rightness from wrongness in your diet, that is what is of considerable help in the lifestyle, if you ask me.
Yes. Amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me also, this is the most important reason why I decided to change my diet and move into fruitarianism, was this control that I get. And there's so much fear around hospitals, and you have to give someone else your body. It's just very, very discouraging and disempowering. And this empowerment that you get just to know your body so well and have this control over yourself was one of my first inspirations as well for what people would call giving away all the amazing food that you can see around. I'm sure you don't see it as amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I agree also that it's very confusing, right, for people to see what is really the right food, right? Because many people will take stimulating foods or stimulating substances in general, and they will feel really great because they do that. And then they will think once they remove these stimulus, then they will feel more, they will have withdrawal symptoms and everything, right? the same thing with food, right? People go like eating junk food and animal products, and then when they get off it, like they might not feel so good because maybe they're not eating enough. Their body is going through some transition, and then they go back to this old foods and they feel amazing, right? But
Yeah.
also, what I say that people don't do things for long enough to have like that kind of transformation in the body to really to understand what is really like happening in the body as well, because there's so much misinformation, so to speak, and people simply, when they don't have that confidence in what they're doing, they simply give up quite fast as well. So it requires quite a lot of discernment and also experience to really to do it. And if you're coming from really bad diet with really bad habits, it's gonna take quite a bit of time as well to transform as well, right? So also I want to ask, what were the difficulties that you faced during your transition in the first years of eating mostly fruit or only fruit?
The For me, I've always said that for me it was not as difficult as it can be or was for other people. It wasn't as difficult, but the reason that I attribute to my ease in transit in the jump from regular plant-based to more fruitarianism was because I was transitioning for many, many, many years before I even knew that that's what I was doing, right? So I was eating lots of raw food, raw vegetables, raw fruits, some simple smoothies, like fruit and raw vegetables, and some cooked food, but only plant-based, and very often without any oils or seasonings or whatnot. And I was doing this for many, 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 many years. As I came closer and closer to going fruitarian, I started to really scale back on the amount of salt and oils. Like I did, initially I did use those things very often, but closer to doing what I'm doing now, then I started to scale back on those. But it was all definitely plant-based, no meat products, no dairy or eggs or fish or all that stuff. So that, and very importantly, I was also fasting. Like almost religiously. So every weekend was a fast of about 36 hours to maybe even 48 hours. And then I would also do cleanses. So I would also do apple cleanse, like apple fast or apple cleanse, or even 3-day, 4-day water fast. And that's something I did all the time. So I was having this transitional diet of plant-based food, whole food, plant-based. No restaurants. I would never go out to restaurants, like ever. Everything was prepared by myself. And so that made me a little bit different right away, from my friends and whatnot. Even before I was fruitarian, I was still the guy bringing apples out to the restaurants and, eating apples and stuff, so no drinking, never, no drinking, no alcohol, no drugs. I've never smoked anything in my life. Also, I was still coming from a fairly good place, right? And I'm not saying that all types of things there are plant medicines that you can take that are very beneficial, that can help people on their path. So I'm not knocking everything. I'm just giving you an idea of the type of background that I'm coming from. Yeah. So by the time it came for me to make this jump now, I was very ready. I was very ready. My body had already experienced what minimalism felt like. So I was already starting to cultivate that type of efficiency and familiarity with going periods without food. And so I think I was getting some good experience that way. So once I did transition over to the fruitarian lifestyle, what would I say were my initial challenges? Initially, I would say that just being satiated at the end of the day, especially in that first 2-3 month period, you're eating definitely more. So more bananas, more dried fruits, some richer combinations of foods. So I would definitely use smoothies when I first started out. way more smoothies than I do now. I've almost never used smoothies now, like almost never. I don't have a need for them. But when I first started out, I definitely did. So I think to answer your question, I think the major thing that it wasn't like a difficulty or a challenge, but it was just, being satiated and really satisfying myself by the end of the day. That was the first thing that took a little bit of adjusting to. But the lifestyle itself was very easy in the sense that, okay, well, it took all the complexity out of eating dinner, right? Like, what is eating dinner now? It's a joke, right? All I have to do is pull out the fruit from the fridge or from the pantry and just eat it. I mean, God, what could be easier? What could be more natural and intuitive? So that I loved that so much that it kind of overrid the other complications. It's like it was way more worth it. Like that was of way more value than the other things that made the life more challenging, right? But yeah, it was a fairly easy transition for me. And of course, the weight. Okay, so the social aspects, these were more challenging. The weight loss and how my body was changing and whittling down and breaking down over that first year period. Now all my friends and family, everyone's all worried. Everyone's throwing me health expert advice now. Blah, blah, blah. All that, having to deal with that was, it can be, if you're not ready for it, it can be annoying. Or you can embrace it as just part of the process, right? That's what you put out into the world. You have to expect that it's your obligation to deal with the people who don't understand in a way that is constructive, in a way that's not hostile. So there was that challenge to deal with. But by and large, it wasn't that bad of a transition. It wasn't that bad because I was transitioning for years and years and years and years prior to, and I was very saturated with understanding. So I put in all the time into research and reading the literature, so I wasn't confused. When my body felt lethargic, I wasn't worried, right? I knew what was happening. So I just accepted that and allowed the process to work on my body. So that the comfort up here, the mental comfort, that goes a long, long, long way to being able to transition to this lifestyle gracefully. And so that's how I would answer that question. So, minor difficulties here and there, but nothing that was insurmountable and nothing that would challenge the benefits that the lifestyle gave me. So it was always, the benefits always outweighed the negatives.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think, we also kind of feel that also, that the simplicity that we receive and the amount of time and the energy that you get, it's like super amazing. People sometimes say that, oh, how are you doing it? It's difficult to travel. And like, it's the simplest thing that you can do.
It's
Just
simple.
go to the supermarket, get the fruit. Like, you can find it. Like 90% of, so they're like, oh, it's more expensive. And like, no, man, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah.
I see the long-term gains that you get, and just like the day-to-day quality of life that we receive from like eating good foods. And as you said about the mental clarity that comes, I think it's also to do with the food. And I think the feeling that you get from eating a certain way, and then the calmness that you get, and that's the guide, that's like, oh yeah, this is the right thing to do, even though you can have like so many symptoms going on in the body, but you're like, it's okay, even if there's some symptoms, I'm feeling great anyway, so why not go ahead with the bath.
Because I talk to a lot of people, and something that you often hear for people that have a bit more trouble, right? Let's say they've had a lot of abuse in the past, and physical, mental, emotional, and that stuff starts to come up, right, during this transition. It's funny, sometimes even though they're going through the rough part of the transition, they'll say, but I really do resonate with this lifestyle. Like, this feels like it can't be wrong. This feels so right. There's a part of you that really can understand. If you're being honest with yourself, I always say that, if you're honest with yourself, you start to recognize that there has to be some sort of truth, behind this, where you're simply aligning with how Mother Nature designed you, and that's it. Mother Nature designed the perfection of everything else in the universe, and to imagine that it just skipped over you in the design of the human body, that seems very illogical to me. Very illogical, right? Mother Nature did not just skip over human beings to leave us to our own devices to create whatever laws of vitality we want. Bull crap, right? This stuff is there for a reason, for a very, very, highly ordained reason. And so, yeah, some people have the ability to recognize that, right? And when you do, it's wonderful because it changes your life. And for some people, like you guys were saying, it can be a bit more challenging in the initial period. But if you can get over that hump, right, and the hump will be more difficult depending on how much damage we've done in the past. It's proportional. So the more damage you've done, the more difficult the hump is to get over, which is why the transition becomes very important. You want to just whittle away. You want to make these changes slowly over time, right? If you make the jump too quickly, then it's not, I don't want to use the word shock to your system, but, kind of in a manner of speaking, yeah. You want to, sometimes exercise provides a very, very good analogy. You would never jump into the gym and say, you know what, I'm going to start day one doing bicep curls with 200 pounds. That's a very stupid way to approach physical fitness. You want to start with 20 pounds, 25 pounds, 30 pounds, 32, and you slowly build your strength over time. Eventually, down the road, you find, oh my God, I'm bicep curling 100 pounds or 200 pounds or whatever, right? So it's the same approach with health. You want to give your body small challenges and slowly increase the intensity of the challenges. In this case, simplicity, right? It's a refining process. And eventually, down the road, you find, oh my God, now my body is way more efficient, right? Way more able to sustain periods without food, way more or way less cravings for all the other stuff. I don't even want that stuff anymore because it just hurts me. And you make the connection between being hurt and the food that you eat. And it takes time to develop that. So you have to be patient with yourself. You do have to be very patient with yourself. It's not definitely not a race. This isn't the the keto thing where you're like, hey, you just do this today and it's going to be a bed of roses from now on, right? They just sell you all these things. This is not a 1 day fix. This is not a 1 week fix. This is not a month-long fix. This is a lifestyle that you have to cultivate, or at least the philosophy of the lifestyle. And then you have to work towards it slowly or more slowly, depending on where you're coming from, right? So yeah. Now I don't even remember how I got onto that subject, but but anyway, that's what I would say about the transition to the lifestyle. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, the people sometimes they want to jump leaps, and your analogy with sport as well, it's really true. Sometimes people they want to run a marathon, it's not like you will start running marathon from being a couch potato to running 40 kilometers. Doesn't make any sense. Because I remember when I started working out, I was did the same problem with biceps curls and everything. I just went too hard, and then the muscle gets so tense that you cannot either straighten your leg or cannot bend it too much, right? You're always in this position, 45-degree angle, and then you're walking I don't know, we call it cupboards, yeah. So.
Oh no. I was gonna say, I mean, even someone in my position where I'm a gymnast, I'm a martial artist. I do a lot of acro every week. I do conditioning, fitness. I do all sorts of stuff, and I'm very familiar with different types of movements, and I have been for my whole life. If me and of course, my diet, fairly clean diet, right? Fairly clean diet. So even in my position, if I were to just say, okay, I'm going to run a marathon. I want to learn how to run a marathon. Even in this position, it would take time. I'm not familiar with endurance running, right? And even though I'm running a much cleaner body than what I was, 20 years ago, yeah, it would still take me time. It would still take me transition. It would still take me a period of acclimatization, of work, of stress, hormetic stress, to be able to finally get myself up to the point where I'm able to run a marathon, right? And, and that's with having this rich background in cleansing and healing and detoxing, right? So you can imagine, and that's a fitness analogy, right? But of course, like you said, Eustace, it's the same type of thing with health and diet and whatnot. So you can imagine how difficult this would be for the person that's just, they read a couple books, they hear a couple lectures, they hear people like us speak, they get inspired by you and your channel, and then all of a sudden it's just like, the mind is ready, but the flesh is lingering, right? So they jump on into it, and then sure enough, all the problems come about, and they're
Yes.
it's just the wrong way to go about it. Yeah, we need to be methodical and approach it with a bit of delicacy. Right?
Yes. I can even give one example, because I think a lot of people don't even realize. People think that eating like herbs and spices, it's it's like something that is really amazing and really healthy. So what happened that a bit more than a year back, around 1 year, 3 months back, I found out about your channel through actually vegetable police. And at that time, I was raw vegan already for like more than a year. And last 5 years, actually, I was mostly like raw vegan anyways.
Nice.
But at that time, I was eating lots of these masalas, Indian masalas, right? So dry spices and everything, right?
Yeah.
And then what happened that around this time also, 1 year back, I was also doing my 77-day juice cleanse. Actually, I in September, September 4th, I broke it, the 77 days. During that time, I had bowel movements that were burning like hell. It seemed like there was like a glass coming out of my other end. So, so all of these things that were coming up, even during this cleanse as well. Now I'm on day 60. I had one movement that was like I could smell it. It was smelling the same like it came in, right?
Right.
I could even remember the name of those masalas that I was consuming.
Wow.
But it came out, I was like, oh my God, it smells like as if I just prepared it just right now. So it comes in the body in the same way as it comes out also. So if it's if your body is just sitting inside your body for a year, and I'm eating only fruits entire year. I didn't have basically me and Karthik went to raw food restaurant once. That was my and we had the cashews the next day. Those 2 days were the only days that I was eating not optimally, basically. The entire time I was eating only fruits, only juicy fruits most of the time, and almost no dry fruits. There was some short period that I had some dry fruits. So during this entire period, entire year, there was still it was my body was still holding on to these things for more than a year ago. Wow. And people say that it's amazing, the spices are really good, every time you type in something on Google, right, or any search engine, and you type in benefits of this food, antioxidants, and then vitamin this, vitamin that, and then everything has vitamins. You find out everything has vitamins. Everything is full of nutrition and everything, right? And before I had the same belief. You eat more, the more you eat, the better it is. Probably everyone is on their journey, and it's amazing, but probably know the OK Raw guy. He's from USA, right?
Okay.
John Kohler. Yeah. So he's promoting a lot eating big variety and lots of nutrients. But I also had the same idea, but then I realized that it is very complex, right? It doesn't have that simplicity, right? Even if you grow your own food and everything, if you need to grow 20, 30 different, 40 different herbs and everything, it's not practical. And it is it's really crazy how that mentality, more is better, is it's prevailing in society, right? But then when the more you simplify your life, the more minimalistic you make it, the better it is. And also your lectures as well about simplicity and complexity. It's I when I found your channel, I watched your videos from beginning, from that time. It was 1 year ago. It was 4 years back that you started your channel as well, right? So I started watching everything from beginning, like methodically, right? Like, and
Yeah.
the first lecture about simplicity is one of the best. Anyone who is like watching right now, also go ahead and watch the simplicity lecture. This is like really, really amazing, right?
Yes, so we both actually became fruitarians because we got this awareness, like, you know, raw veganism is not enough and we need to go one step ahead through your channel only. And I think Eustace has seen all of your videos from the beginning. You slowly introduced me to the you know, channel. Yes. So everyone who's watching, actually amazing content into understanding every, like, you know, cell that you have in your body. That's how, like, you know, that's the basic that Eli goes into when he's teaching about body and health. So quite amazing videos out there on the channel. So yeah, then we could go ahead with the next question, which is that what are the diseases that you have kind of healed in your body, that you could say, maybe not diseases, but the discomforts that you had when you embarked on the diet? I'm also curious that, did you do raw veganism before being a fruitarian for some time? And like, what is the difference that you saw with respect to your body responding to those two different diets?
Yeah. So yes, I did. Okay. No, I didn't do a 100% raw vegan lifestyle prior to going fruitarian. It wasn't 100%, but it was very close. It was very, very close. It was, yeah. So it was my lifestyle prior to going fruitarian was mostly raw. I would say the cooked food that I was eating most of the time was potatoes. So it's either a regular type of potato or sweet potato or a squash, which is a fruit, right? But so those were my main squashes. Sometimes I used some type of grain like a quinoa or a lentil, but most of the time, yeah, like a potato or a squash. And then that I would eat that with just a huge assortment of raw vegetables, so leafy green vegetables. And then smoothies in the morning, fruit smoothies in the morning, maybe a couple like a celery or a lettuce or whatnot, mixed with mango, banana, whatever it was. I had a good smoothie. In the afternoon, same type of thing. Maybe maybe it would be a repeat of dinner. So maybe I'd prepare dinner at lunchtime and then just eat the same thing for dinner later on, or maybe even just 2 meals in the day. So breakfast and then a big dinner later on. So yeah, so that was, I would say, yeah, close to raw veganism, and then I transitioned more to a fruit-based lifestyle. In the initial periods in the fruit-based lifestyle, I would say before I would really call myself fruitarian, I was doing fruit with some vegetables. So yes, raw veganism for a short period of time, but not for like a significant period of time. Yeah. And then I kind of weaned off the vegetables and did just more fruit, and then really started enjoying it there. So yeah, it was a mostly raw vegan diet prior to going fruit-based. Yeah.
And what were the problems that you healed in your body with the fruitarian diet, if you had to say? Point it out.
Okay.
I know you'd never had many problems in the body, but
not like hospitalizing issues, like nothing I needed, serious medical attention for. So for that, I didn't wait until I had colorectal cancer or something before they go, oh, maybe I should change up my diet. But yeah, so I had like very dry skin on my hands, like eczema or psoriasis or one of them. I don't know. I never really got it medically checked out, but it was one of those two, and I had that on my hands for quite a while. Just like it would be very annoying, very irritating. I'm like, oh, why do I have dry hands? So that was something that cleared up. That was causing me a lot of just confusion over the years, just confusion, like what am I doing? Especially when I transitioned more to the plant-based lifestyle, figured, okay, here we go, I'm doing everything right now, but this problem still persists. Okay, so that was one. I had like sinusitis, chronic mucus congestion, all the time, requiring tissues all the time, every day. and that just immediately, not immediately, but very, very, very in good time cleared itself up. So mucus congestion became a thing of the past, right? And now when it does happen, I know exactly what I'm doing that caused that, right? So it's not a confusion anymore, right? So those were the two main issues. I also had allergies, so allergies to cats and dogs, right? Not all dogs, some dogs, but more cats than dogs. And those allergies seemed to subside and go away once I adopted this lifestyle as well, which made me very happy. I remember testing it at some point and hanging around cats and petting cats and being in the same room as cats and like, oh my God, this is crazy. You know, I'm not really reacting to these cats anymore. So that was a great moment when I discovered that. As a kid, I had asthma or a type of asthma. Like I had some like chest congestion as well, allergy related. So I'd have seasonal allergies that would plague me every time, you know, the ragweeds came in. So I would have those types of seasonal allergies as well. And it gave me a bit of tightness in the chest. And I would notice it into adulthood. It subsided by itself, but I always had a little bit of chest tightness. So when I exercised, so if I went for a jog or a run, then that's when it came up to the surface, when I could feel it. And I would have this chest tightness every time I did cardiovascular activity. And it was only on the fruit-based lifestyle where I finally noticed that after a bout of intense cardiovascular activity, all of a sudden that mucus congestion had gone away and I could breathe clearly and freely after exercise. And that was a great moment for me, right? So those are some of the issues that I was dealing with that healed and cleared up on the fruit-based lifestyle. I also had some other joint pains. So I had a neck pain, and it was so minor, it was so mild that it didn't affect me during day-to-day life, but it was there. So every time I turned my head to one side, I could feel it, and it never stops you from doing anything, and it's always there. So it's just annoying. It's like this little fly that's just every once in a while, like, oh my God, go away. What is this thing? And you know, what are you gonna do? You can't. I tried to look up, you know, how do I rectify joint pain, neck exercises to relieve issues, but nothing seemed to work. And then once I cleaned up my diet, one day I just, you know, I'm turning my head and I feel it. I'm like, oh my God, it's gone, right? My head is moving with a lot more fluidity. I don't have this tension over here. And that was an incredible moment too. It's like, because it was such a small, minor thing. And to see that go away gave me hope, you know, like, oh, okay. So little joint pains, little irregularities, little pieces of congestion that are stuck in the joints. If your body starts to become more hydrated and you give it what it needs, even those little irritations that you feel you just have to live with, those start to break apart and you know, and get rectified and regulated. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, you know. So from little annoying joint issues and a little annoying complications, and mucus congestion, dry skin, allergies, seasonal allergies, these are the things that I saw were healed on the diet, on the fruit-based lifestyle.
Yes, amazing.
Is
Yeah.
there something that you think that you couldn't heal on the diet? Because you've done amazing fasts as well, which I'll be touching on as well. I want to like definitely, you know, bring about the dry fasting and the water fasting. But was there anything on the diet that you feel you haven't been able to heal, or your body is like perfectly awesome now?
No. So if scars, okay, so some scars on your body, if they're deep enough at the time, then those will linger. Some scars, if they're, you know, if they're superficial enough, they will actually heal over time. Now I don't know if I can't say that that's attributable to just the fruit-based lifestyle. That could just be a matter of time. However, your diet is related. Let's not, you know, let's be honest about this. What you put in your body is obviously related to how well you heal. So I'm just saying I have noticed that, yeah, some scars are still there. I had very, very, very early hair loss. So I started noticing that my hair was thinning like fairly early. I would say by second year university. How old are you then? Oh gosh. I
18.
mean, you're in your 20s, like early 20s. Yeah. So I started noticing that I was losing hair in my early 20s, right? And so fairly early. And so that didn't heal itself on a fruit-based lifestyle. There's a very heavy genetic component to hair loss as well, to how long your hair retains itself. We've all seen the people, and I've mentioned this in other videos, we've all seen the people who have absolutely disgusting, filthy lifestyles, dietary lifestyles. They just eat whatever the heck, just the worst of the worst. And big fat people who eat just absolutely everything. Skittles and chips is breakfast. You know how it goes. and they've got full, beautiful heads of hair. It's like, okay, what the hell? This makes no sense. And then you'll see people who live very, very clean lifestyles, fitness, health, diet, and then they've lost their hair, right? So there are some other questions that I don't have the answers to in that department. And so that's something that I noticed didn't, all of a sudden heal itself with a fruitarian lifestyle. It's interesting because there are some people, though, who living that lifestyle do notice that their hair becomes thicker and regrows, right? So for some people, it does seem to work, but for others like myself, it didn't seem to do much there. So I would say, yeah, scars not completely healing, hair not growing back. Is there anything else that I'm missing that did not heal on a fruit-based lifestyle? Honestly, virtually everything gets better or can heal on this lifestyle, especially if you pair it with fasting, right? I'll give you an example. I had eye damage, retinal damage from, I've had bad eyesight since I was a kid. So since like grade 1, I needed glasses, right? So I have very bad genes for eyesight. And so my eyesight hasn't healed completely. However, my prescription has dropped. So my prescription now is for the first time in my life, less strong than what it used to be. And I didn't notice that living, how I used to. It was only after the fruit-based lifestyle that my prescription dropped a bit. So that's interesting. But what I was going to say is I was doing some sun gazing one day, and I got really excited that I was able to do it for a while, but I did it for too long. And when the sun was too high in the sky, and I got some retinal damage. And so I fasted and didn't worry about it. I said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to relax. I'm not going to let this worry me. I'm not going to let Google terrify me, saying your eyes are screwed up for life if you get retinal damage. Sure enough, some fasting and maintenance of my lifestyle, oh my God, the retinopathy, the retinal damage that I got, it healed completely, right? Completely. Wow. And so it's interesting. Yes, if you treat your body well and you give it the appropriate rest, physiological rest, you do some fasting, you do some cleansing. Eustace, you're doing your juice cleanse right now. You do your juice cleansing, right? All of these things are just recipes for healing, recipes for very powerful healing. And your body can recover from virtually anything. There are some things that are more resistant, unfortunately, as far as I know, but maybe there's just some pieces of the puzzle that I haven't found yet. So I'm not a know-it-all. So maybe there's just more for me to discover. But for the most part, the things that plague the general, that plague us generally in human life, we can rectify these, we can heal these with a proper approach to nutrition and diet and health. So there aren't too many things that I didn't notice improvement in my life.
Yeah, actually, I have had a very interesting experience with my eyesight. So it was never too bad, but it was still not perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
I exercised for like 1.5 months. And when I did it, it just like dropped down quite a bit. And then I
Mm-hmm.
kind of got laid back. So, but of course, like this was when I started eating fruits only. So I think first of all, there's like lots of mental clarity that comes in, and then you can kind of apply things that you couldn't apply before because you're so caught up in your mind and your body, and there's so many
Mm-hmm.
problems that are going on, which has been my experience. The mental clarity that comes in is super awesome for you to apply also maybe exercise or other modalities, healing modalities in your life,
Yeah.
just like sleeping well and exercising, like physical exercises and meditation, so many things that you can add on just because you're kind of at rest. So I think in two ways the healing happens. Of course, there's like less stress on the body from the toxins, and another point is that you're just more motivated to go ahead with it. And I think with the eyes, I think exercise kind of, because you're exercising your body full power everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that is a very great advantage that you have. That's why you have like great muscles and you're healing fast and you're doing so many things, and you've been able to also follow through a good diet, because for you your
Mm-hmm.
body functionality is an important part of your life, which
Yeah.
is probably for a lot of people sitting on the computer it's not. And so they
Mm.
don't like see these differences as well, and they don't give it so much importance. But like exercising the eye probably is also one of the ways in which we can get perfect eyesight.
Yeah, I believe also
Yeah.
if you do it more in nature, kind of like, you do it also with fasting, for example, because I know that you are studying a lot as well, you like to read a lot. So maybe
Yeah.
for you, your eyesight is not, because it's good enough, because also when you wear lenses or glasses, for example, you are not really like, pushing your body to really use the eyes as much, right?
Yeah.
And especially if you're using devices a lot or reading like, basically everything is in the same distance. It's a bit different.
Yes.
But if you went on fasting, for example, for, I don't know, maybe 30 days in the forest, and then
Yeah.
you would have to go around and maybe, get some water for yourself or things like that, you would automatically start using your eyes more, and then that would be like a training. That's what
Mm.
would happen in nature. In nature, no one would really have bad eyesight unless they
Exactly.
had other senses much sharper as well, right? Like if you're a rhinoceros, you don't need good eyesight, because you can just go wherever, go through the trees, go through the animals, doesn't matter. But like, if you need that your eyesight,
Yeah.
your body will automatically prioritize that. So that's how, like, I believe that, like, what is more important for you in your particular life and lifestyle, that's what this body is also putting more energy into, right?
Mm.
When we are more free from, let's say, when we simplify our life and we don't have to work so much, right? We can do more meditation, right? We can do more inner
Mm.
work. Then we can develop this aspect as well. But if you're always busy with surviving,
Yeah.
we will not put energy in these kind of things, and we will not develop in these areas as well. So I think it's how say, um, what is the how say, priority for us? Like, that's very
Mm-hmm.
important where it goes as well.
Mm-hmm.
There,
Yeah.
there was this example. I don't know if you know Eli Tom, but he's a breatharian. Maybe
Yeah.
you know him, you following him. So he
Mm.
gave from his life. There was this one time when he was playing a lot of video games, and then he saw that his eyesight kind of like decreased. And then when he went out for just that, he stopped playing video games, and then he was just going out bicycling and then looking at the GPS and whatever. And it just like healed on its own really fast.
Mm.
So I think the body is definitely capable of doing that. It's just about we kind of have to put in our intention towards that. I also need to do it to like
Yeah.
bring it to perfect eyesight.
Yeah,
Yes.
one
Yes.
thing that when I was doing 100 day, my 100-day juice cleanse, that was the back in 2018. That was the longest one I did. So I did was doing 100 days, and I was working in the warehouse, and I could see how to read the labels of the, like, basically like numbers on the pallets. It was
Mm-hmm.
around 25, maybe 30 feet away. So I could read those numbers from, like, such a distance that no, like, I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. I'm walking
It's,
there, and I
ah.
feel I feel like, getting like more like superhuman, just because, like,
Yes.
I'm like, no, everything was getting sharper, and
Yeah.
also the peace of the mind when you're like, really not digesting things, right? Like, the less energy you put into the food, the more energy is available elsewhere as well. I'm sure you also
Yeah.
had the same experience. That's how like you're also doing all the dry fasting and water fasting as well.
Yeah.
Could you tell a little bit more about your dry fasting experiences? Because you did like 8 days, I believe, and you were like doing workout every day also.
We saw
It's
that
like
video.
really crazy because for me, I'm still if I go on like for 2 days or so, like I can still feel that like there is more cleansing happening. It's not that level where it's like the energy goes into. I can
Yeah.
do so much exercise and workout. It's more about resting for me. So how is
Yeah.
it for you?
Yeah, I'll tell you when I first started noticing that that I was getting really efficient with no food. So I worked on, I had a small part on on a film called Shazam, okay?
Yeah.
And during the tail end of the movie, there were several days where we were working, and it wasn't super physically demanding. It was more just like simple movements and whatnot. So but I really wanted to fast, and so I thought, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna fast. I know I have work, I gotta work every day. I'm just gonna do it, see what happens. Okay, a dry fast. And so day one goes by, I'm at work in costume, moving around and doing activity, and I was fine. Day two rolls around, wake up. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, time to go to work. And I'm like, I feel pretty good, right? I'm gonna keep going, doing my thing. Day three rolls around, day four. And by the day four mark, I remember being a bit worried because it was almost a bit scary because I'm at work and I'm in my costume. I haven't eaten or drank food for 3 days. And I'm like, what is wrong with me right now? I'm doing handstands just while I'm waiting and doing like handstand push-ups, and I'm like, this is so weird. Oh my god, what is wrong? Like it was kind of scary. Right? And so that's when I first started having this experience where I'm like, man, I'm getting really efficient without any food. And now after that day 4 or 5 mark, that's when I started noticing, oh, okay. Now things are calming down a bit. My body's saying, no, you should rest for, rest a bit. And then something magical happens, day 6 rolls around, day 7, a little bit more energy. It's like, oh, okay, I feel pretty good. But still, yeah, when you're fasting, it is good to just rest and relax and let your body do what it's supposed to do, right? Which is a period of healing. But yeah, like you guys said, it's, oh, sorry, hold on. I don't want to be, I've got something editing on the computer and it's going to make a lot of noise. Okay. Sorry about that. So like you guys said, over time, what happens is your body becomes very efficient and it starts to be able to generate its own energy from less and less and less and less. Okay. And the less waste products you have in your system, the less discomfort you'll have with periods of no food. So during this dry fast, I always notice the most potent improvements in health at the end of a dry fast. Some of it I can't explain, all right? To be honest, some of it is just very hard to explain. There's a lot of stuff going on during a fast, and a dry fast or even a water fast. Some of it is completely beyond our comprehension, right? But I didn't, the experience that I'm describing now when I was at work and doing the dry fast and feeling good, I think that one lasted for about 5 days, and then I started eating again. But that's when I first noticed that I was getting very efficient with this. That wasn't the first time I dry fasted. I dry fasted for, the 2 days, 3 days prior to getting my feet wet in the dry fasting world. And I had initial experiences with my wrist complications healing on a dry fast. So I'm a gymnast. And so sometimes if you're not careful, you can overwork your wrists and you can get a little bit of soreness and tension there. I noticed some wrist pain go away after a dry fast at one point. Other little aches and pains kind of rectify on short dry fasts. Your skin, you've probably noticed this too, but your skin improves very quickly on a fast, like very, very quickly. At least I've found. And other people have found that as well. So I only started dry fasting after I'd had a lot of water fasting experience under my belt. So I'd had, years and years and years of weekend fasting, at least a day and a half, 2 days. So that I did for many, many years. And then a couple of longer water fasts, a couple of cleanses, just like you've done right now, Eustace, juice cleansing and different types of mono cleanses. And then I started getting into some dry fasting. And yeah, so it didn't take too long once I started to realize that this was the feeling, that I was getting more and more efficient. And yeah, what you said about feeling like a superhero, God, I wish people could feel what that feels like. It's so damn exciting. It's so damn exciting.
Yeah.
You really feel superhuman. You really do. When you're, even now, I'm at work, and just for fun, like sprinting away, it's been, 24 hours since I've had food or water. People are not dying, but people are, they're really, really hungry on set. They're peckish. They're reaching for the carbonated drinks and whatnot. And you feel like $1 million. It's just like, it's empowering, right?
I know, yes.
Yeah.
Today was just dancing, and I call it Qigong on techno. I was listening to acid techno. It was very nice. Me and Kartika were just dancing, and there was like 1 hour just dancing, and it was like, just like free flow, there's nothing in your mind. You're like, the energy is going through you, and it's like, people don't realize how much fun it is, and it's like there is no really shortcuts to that. I mean, you can do like even doing because I don't recommend for people just to do cleansing and then go back to eating their old diets. That doesn't make much sense. But when people do like cleansing like this, let's say they do juice cleansing, this is one of the best to experience it, because like juice cleansing is not as harsh compared to, let's say, water fast. Water fast can be people, if they're coming from a really bad place, so to speak, they can be throwing up. They could be like, some effects that can be like, people be like, I'm not feeling so good. But for the most part, I noticed that like people on juice cleansing, they are doing much better. And I understand that juice and cleansing is nothing compared to, let's say, water fasting or dry fasting. It is much like water fasting, dry fasting is much higher modality healing. And but for also what I see that for most people, it can be too much also to go to like water fasting and dry fasting in the very beginning, especially. It is much better that you maybe do 7 days of juicing, just experience that. 7 days, 14 days, and then you go back to eating and try to improve on your diet, rather than like making like a massive leaps and everything like that. So it's feeling like superhuman. This is like, I mean, this is how we are supposed to be. Even when you look at animals in nature, I think they're like
It's okay, no?
Yes. Even when we have the animals in nature, right? Like, I can see that they're like, they're so strong. Like, they're like, cows. We have cows walking around here. They just go around eating grass only, and they like, they could knock us out like, like that. But just because we enslaved their minds, now they're like, like you raise their hand and they're like, running away, It's like, it's so funny, in nature, if you see a bison, because we have wild bisons like here in these mountains. If you see this bison, it's like, oh my God, they weigh more than a ton or 2 tons. I'm not sure, like massive. Like they don't care. Like they're literally walking around and they don't care. Like there's dog barking, humans walking. They like, amazing.
Or these hulking vegetarians, vegans. It's just like, man, it's impressive.
And then people are talking about protein, eat more. Oh, you need to eat all this diversity and everything. It's like, look at the cow, look at the bison. It's like only grass, eating only grass, and they're like so strong. So
and their consciousness is also very soft. I think they're very very divine consciousness. Cows have. It's like so nice. They have so much power, but they never do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There's a lot we could learn, you know, a lot we can learn from just studying our surroundings and studying our animal brothers and sisters, right? So much we can learn from them. And as much as, you know, as much as people will say, like, people will hear that and say, oh, but humans aren't cows, humans aren't buffaloes. Absolutely correct. Yeah, I get it. We are not. We have different physiological designs. But of course, also we have very many similarities. What are we, like 90% genetically similar to all all animals, right? There's a huge. I might be just throwing out that number, but it is a very high percentage of genetic similarity that we have between ourselves and other animals, right? There's so many similarities, and so we can use those similarities and then learn things about ourselves from studying, you know, just from studying how the world around us works. And yeah, Eustace, you brought up a good point. Some people, because water fasting, like abstinence, the complete abstinence with either water or dry fasting, yeah, this is a level of purification that is very intense. And so what I would suggest is, if people want to get into fasting, what they could do is, like you said, you could either do a juice cleanse, you could do a mono fruit cleanse. And what you would do is you would use water fasting only as a gauge to determine where you are. So just take a day, and after, let's just say you do a juice cleanse for a week, okay? Then you say, all right, I want to see how I feel like after 24, maybe not even 18 hours of no food, right? And just water. If at the end of that 18 hours, you feel really solid and really good and you want to like exercise, that's a great sign, right? So now you can use that as a gauge and say, okay, I wonder what happens if I go 28 hours. I wonder what happens if I go 30 hours, right? And you just starts to play in this comfortable range where you're not stressing yourself out, but you're using fasting as a barometer, as a gauge to tell you where you are in your detox. If 18 hours makes you feel, oh God, I could really go for something, or you're feeling that nagging, crushing craving, or you feel a headache coming on, or you feel a bit of nausea coming on, great. Now you know, right? So now you know you're not ready for a complete water fast yet. It's like, okay, I'll just live the healthy lifestyle for longer. And then later on, after a month, 2 months, 3 months, I'll do a water fast test again. And then you see where you're at. And so you can use it as a very good barometer to tell you where you are in your lifestyle, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and then once you start getting good with water fasting, you could do the same thing with dry fasting. Do you feel amazing after 18 hours of dry fasting? Great. What happens when you do 19 or 22, right? Hours. And you use that, and then you just plug along, and you continually refine, and then you get to a place where what you're doing at that time is going to, in comparison to what you were doing, is shocking, right? It's a
Yes.
slow progression, but then you look at the difference between those two states, and it's just like it's night and day. You have forged a completely new human being,
Yes.
and that new human being is light years ahead of that old human being. And that is it's a very good feeling. It's a very good feeling.
Yes. So even me and Karthik, we also were doing quite a lot of dry fasting. Even we call it it's not even fasting. It's like intermittent fasting. So we do 24 hours once a week at least. And then for the most part, day to day, actually, I consume my juices right now in around 2 to 3 hour window as well. So that's also 21 hours, 20, sometimes 22 hours of dry fasting between day to day. And for me, that's like a normal thing. It's nothing that I don't have to push it. It's like I don't even want to have juices so early or so late. Also, right now we are talking, it's evening time. I had my last juice today around 2:30, in our local time. Right now it's already 9 o'clock, and I'm not gonna have anything else today, of course. It doesn't make sense. Why would I drink juice and go to sleep, right? I don't need that energy. So I wake up in the morning, I go around, doing my practices, working and everything, and the energy is there. It's like people want to eat every 2 hours, 3 hours, just because it's not like you're missing energy because you're lacking that food. In that case, like, then, like, we would, me and Kartika, we would, like, fall down, like, of exhaustion quite fast. But it's not
Yes.
the case, because, like, what people don't realize that they don't ever experience real hunger, right? That
Yeah.
it's not really a hunger that people are going through. Mostly it's just a craving from all of the previous meals they had before. So
Yeah.
until you get to that point as well, where you feel comfortable also, it is important that you are, like, not pushing yourself too much also, because when it's too discomfortable for you, it will be very discouraging for most people. Like, if you're doing something and you feel so bad that, like, you cannot function, day to day, very likely you're not going to continue doing that. We want to have energy, we want to have, we want to do things in our day-to-day life. So that's why it's important to really, do it gradual changes in life like that, rather than, like, pushing too much as well. That's why I think there are so many people who are against, like, cleansing and things like that. But I mean, it doesn't make sense. Like, if your regular day-to-day diet is already really good, you sometimes you will want to really, like, do a bit more cleansing according to what you did before, the mistakes made in our lives, so, like, so, like, for you it's really amazing. You were not drinking, you were not smoking, you're not using drugs. But, like, there are many people who are not coming from this space as well. So, like, we have to be really respectful
Exactly.
to our depths, so to speak, from our past. And for me as well, I'm still doing lots of cleansing, because, like, I'm in the state where I need to do it. Like, we made a lot of mistakes. Me and Kartika were staying in Hanoi, and Hanoi is very polluted. The pollution
Yeah.
is crazy. People are making barbecues on the street. There is, like, thousands of scooters running. They're burning plastic. It's like crazy, like, so. I was cycling at that time, like, on the road bicycle, like, cycling in Hanoi, and I was breathing extra pollution like that. And that time, we
Yeah.
were kind of doing 6 days of juice fasting. Also, I could feel, like, all the sinus areas was, like, burning, right, in the beginning of the cleanse, because, like, I was we are breathing in too much of that toxicity. So it's very important to understand where you're coming from. It's not only the food also, of course. Like, if you're living in polluted area, it's gonna be, like, really, really much more harder for you to really to attain optimal levels of health, right? So it's very important that we are upgrading the weakest parts of our life as well. So that's why me and Kartika, we moved out of the, like, that area. We moved to the mountains here, and like, because have you read also the book, Man's Hair Consciousness?
Yes. Yeah.
Hilton Fultema. Like, when
Listen,
you
yeah.
recommend, I
Great
started
book.
reading recently. Yeah, like, because you recommended also, I believe it was with the UK Fruit Festival.
Yes.
We had an interview, and you were talking about Hilton Fultema. I was like, I remembered, oh yeah, I need to read that book. I started reading that book, and I really now take seriously, very important, like, it's very important to take seriously the air that we're breathing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's another factor, right? So
Yes.
even if you are if not eating the food, but let's say you're cooking the food all the time, you will be also breathing in all of that pollution as well, right? That is also will be affecting us as well. So it is
Right.
important that we are keeping our environment clean, and like, having enough fresh air as well. So that is, like,
Yes.
a really important part. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think, yeah, even if you're even in the context of a fast, like just a fast. So if you do it at altitude, higher altitudes where the air is cleaner, you'll probably be able to fast for a lot longer with more comfort, because you can just take in better quality energy from the atmosphere there, and you don't even have to have adopted or achieved that type of perfect harmony, that breatharian lifestyle, before you can feel the effects of good quality air, right? But
Yes.
you become more sensitive to it when you're doing this lifestyle, for sure. But yeah, you don't even have to need to have acquired that elevated level of body purity before you can recognize the distinct difference between air quality, right? And it's very important. Yeah, it's super important. It's a problem with me, and with me and my lifestyle, like working on film. A lot of the times, there's things like atmosphere and types of ways that they design the set so that the air quality is not the greatest. And so this is something that I have to deal with as well, right? And people got to realize if you're not paying attention to your health, you said it beautifully. It's not just the food, right? There are things that are well outside of our control that are affecting us in just the same way that food is. So you might as well, like, oh gosh, we have so many ways that world tries to offend our health and wellness and vitality, right? You might as well take care of the things that you at least can control, right? Take care of those first. That's default. That's like the square one, the basics, right? You have to control the things that you have the control over. And that way you can at least start to deal with the effects of the pollutants and the toxins and the offenses that the world puts on your body from the sources that you don't have control over, right? So like it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work, and there's a lot to think about and consider. So we really got to get back in touch with the responsibility that we have to the only temple that you are given in this life experience at this time, right? You only have one. You might as well treat it with the love and respect that it deserves, so that you can experience the world in its full richness and full enjoyment, right? Because if you sacrifice that, you will compromise the richness of your experience that you take into your spirit, that you incorporate into your universal higher self, and that you export to the next life when that next life comes along, and you reset and reassess and then reincarnate into a different body. I know it's getting a bit metaphysical, but yeah, like these
That's
things
amazing.
they're good to talk about. They're important things to reflect on.
Yes,
right?
yes, beautifully said.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. No,
Yeah,
it's like, because people say, "Oh, I live only once. I do whatever I want," but we twist it a bit differently, right? Like, this life is like, that you're going through is important. Like, and like, the better you take care of yourself, the better experience you will be able to have. So it's like, you might as well, like, go for more fuller experience, rather than like, just like dull all of your senses through like overstimulation. Like, only for a short period of time you will experience that pleasure, right? But then the consequences from all of these actions, they will not they will last for a long period of time, and we will compromise our senses to experience this life, like, to the fuller extent. And of course, it's when you are doing all of these things, it's extremely powerful experience to really, because until you really experience it, you cannot really tell, right? You can write it in the books, you can read, watch it in the movies, but the experience itself will not be, because you cannot really tell others, like, how this experience is. They have to experience it themselves as well. This is why it's so beautiful, and that's why we are doing what we are doing. That we want to more people to experience the beauty of being healthy, so to speak, as well, right? Because that's where it became very rare in today's society.
Yeah. And like, people will make that argument all the time. You only have this one life. You might as well live it. You might as well get the most out of the life. I agree completely. You might as well get the most out of this life. But it's not. The thing is, you don't understand that there is way more to life than the mere stimulation of stimulating concentrated foods and whatnot. There are higher glories to be attained that will blow out of the water anything that you could get from these conventional fake adulterated foods, right? And they'll say that, I might as well just do this because it's fun and I can do whatever I want. And yeah, you can do whatever you want, but what you can't do is you can't escape the consequences of doing whatever you want. If in so doing, you violate natural principles, you will never be able to experience the consequences of those bad decisions for yourself and for the echoes, the ripple effect that it has on your community, on your environment, right? These effects you cannot stop. You have no say in the matter, right? So what the challenge is for human beings is aligning what you want with what is best. And when those two things align, that's when glory starts to express in your body and in your life, right? So yeah, I'm just gonna whatever. I'm just gonna drink and smoke and do whatever, all these wonderful things because I only have one life. It's like, yeah, because you only have one life, you might as well take that life to the best and to the highest, so that you can experience the best and the highest, right?
Yes.
That's how I would see it. But people needs to be coached that that these are choices that they can make, right? So yeah, some people don't know that those choices are available to them, right? So
Yes.
and that's where we come in. That's where yourselves come in. And it's amazing. Like, I mean, look at you guys. Like, you guys are healthy, wonderful human beings. Nobody would suspect that you're doing this amazing lifestyle behind the scenes, right? They get that these are just two lovely, wonderful human beings. I wonder what it is they do. And when they realize what you do, it's like, oh, damn, really? That's what I have to do to be like you guys? Oh, man, that's a lot of responsibility, right? But, that's what you're doing. You're leading by example and just doing what is best and letting other people feed off of that. And so, we end up doing a good work. And I applaud that. I really appreciate that you guys have this platform.
The inspiration is coming from that side. It's coming from Toronto, trickling down to India.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You were that trigger for me. That time I was like, basically every time actually my life changed tremendously, so to speak, because I want also to share with people that they can understand that every time I did some mostly it started with juice cleansing, right? Like I would do I started eating raw food back in 2020. I did 14 days. I mean, before that also I was eating lots of raw food and mostly raw food, and it was just experimenting, falling off a little bit and things like that. But at that time, the entire thing happened with news and everything, and then things started closing down. I was like, something no, this is serious stuff happening. I need to be the best I can be. So I decided I'll do juice cleansing. So those 14 days kickstarted my raw journey. But then last year also because of you and your channel, I got I was like, I need to take it to the next level. And again, and at that time I did 7 days juice cleanse. And that time also I was still smoking also, actually. So, and during the 7 days, my health got to such a high levels that every time I would smoke, I would feel really low. So basically, it is instead of fighting your demons, so to speak, what you can do, you can try to rather make it the best out of yourself rather than going low and fighting this low demons. So when you do that, because here in India, yogis are basically the way they live is that they don't have to change the world. They can the only thing that they have to change is themselves, right? So if we can be the best that we can be, we can radiate that energy outside of us, and then we can change so much, right? Because even probably you read the Just McKinn's maybe books as well, that she's saying also that when someone is vibrating in very high frequency, that high frequency can affect basically even millions of people around you. Probably you also know about examples when there were children meditating and during million of children meditating at once. And just because that day they were meditating, you could see clear dip in all of the catastrophes and other other negative things that are happening in the world as well. So it is very, very important that instead of trying to change everyone and everything around us, we are simply trying to be the best that we can be. And I'm very grateful for you as well, that because you did your work, we are also our lives changed. It's that trigger, you were that trigger at that time. It was and we keep on doing this ripple effects, we can see it from our side also. Other people are getting affected so much. We don't have to tell anyone anything. Before I was trying to oh, it's best to eat raw food, it's best to do that. Now nothing like that. People come to us and then it happens automatically. People come to us, and we're they yeah, let's eat only raw food, or let's have only juices. Let's do it. We had 65-year-old man who never had a full meal of fruits came to us, he spent like 2 days with us. Like we had a retreat, and then he came
Yeah.
back again. And then he was like, yeah, I just want to eat fruits with you only, guys. And we didn't even tell him anything. He's like 65-year-old from big city. He was working like a cameraman. He's like amazing guy, really high energy guy. And he just came in and just spent 3 days with us doing the same thing that we are doing. And we didn't it's completely off the grid and everything. So it's like you can see how these energies affect everything around you. So like, anyone who is watching also, I highly suggest just work on yourself every day, a little bit, small steps at a time. Eventually, you reach different states of being that will allow your the light that you're shine outside of you. So it is
Yeah, but we can go ahead with Eli. Do you have time? From what time is it? It's if you have, then I have so many questions.
Yeah. Yeah. No. This is your show. Yes, I've got time. So yeah, if it's good and you guys still have questions that you want to go through, yeah, I'm good.
Awesome. We would love to go ahead. So the question that I wanted to ask you about the dry fasting one was, do you think that it's also that since you were in a flow of work and then probably your mind was somewhere else, in a different kind of direction, did it help you to not like, maybe like if you were sitting in your house and then by yourself, maybe like you would go here and there, and maybe you might have detox symptoms because the mind is going somewhere else. Do you think that also had an effect, that you were like constantly like in things and your mind is like not on bringing up the shadows or working on more healing processes?
not like getting bored and everything else like that as well. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a really great question. And to be honest, it could be because I think if you want to get the maximum amount of healing, okay, so the purpose of your fast is to heal from something, reconstitute energy, whatever it is, you're probably not going to do that any better way than just literally relaxing and resting, okay, and just completely being at ease. It's the rest principle. I can't argue with the rest principle. That's how it is. I do know that sometimes that can be challenging on a dry fast, because if you do free up so much energy that sometimes it's just like, oh my God, I gotta do something, I gotta move, right? And you end up getting a lot of energy. Now, in expending that energy, yes, you're correct. Maybe I shut myself off from just that little bit extra amount of healing that I would have had at my disposal had I just been resting and not exercising. So 100%, you're absolutely right. That's a great question, and there's a fine line to walk between just the minimal amount of activity or stimulation that keeps your blood flowing, keeps your lymphatic system moving, and then complete rest, right? Which allows you to do everything that healing provides. So if I were so let's just say I'm in a position where I'm recommending a dry fast to someone who wants to do it and is ready for it and has had a good sufficient training. I would not recommend the amount of activity that I do in a dry fast, right? That's just something that I do as almost like testing or just experimenting or seeing what I can get away with. But if telling someone to dry fast who's healing from something, I would say no, don't do that activity, right? Because you want to capitalize on the rest period, the physiological ease that the fast provides. So yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. So I would have to do the exact same thing, exact same fast, and then do absolutely nothing, and then see what the difference is. Like see what the difference is in terms of how I feel, just whatever, just everything that happens, record it and write it down. But I guess where I cut myself some slack is that because I'm not trying to heal from anything in particular, when I do a dry fast, it's more just like a maintenance type of fast. And if I'm feeling energetic and like I want to go out and move, I don't stop myself from doing that, because there are times when I'm dry fasting where I'm just, you have so much energy that I feel like if I lie down for another second, I'm gonna lose my mind. I've got to go run somewhere or do something or whatever. So you run into that problem. But yes, to answer your question, I think that you brought up a very important point. And if we are trying to heal from something, I think it's important to fight that urge to expend energy if it comes up, right? Like if you feel really energetic on a fast, but you're trying to heal from something in particular, the best thing to do is to not go and expend that energy, because that energy is energy that's expend. And so if you keep it inside, your body will put that into healing and not expending energy. So that's just a natural principle that we cannot escape, right?
Yes.
So I'm not free of that law just because you see me in the videos, exercising all over the place while I'm dry fasting. That doesn't mean that principle doesn't apply. So I would have gotten more healing had I not done any of that activity, but it's just that I had that energy available, and so I was able to do that, and it's great. But that doesn't mean that that's what you should do if you're trying to heal from something.
Wow.
I suppose also there is a benefit for you in the fitness area, because like as soon as you're damaging yourself in terms of, let's say, doing the work that you do or the fitness that you do or the exercise that you do, you're recovering very fast because you're on the fast.
Yeah,
So,
true.
Yeah. So that's another thing that people forget, that like exercise damages the body in some way, which will later requires energy for our to be needs that our body needs to recover, right? And of course, you're getting more efficient like that, because when you are not eating and you're doing all the crazy exercises, for example, that means that your body has to use things very, very wisely, right? Like, you cannot be wasting things away, and like, you're not overloading yourself with food in that particular moment. So your body becomes also more efficient in rebuilding itself, right? Like, recycling things as well. So that's why also dry fasting is especially, it's like really amazing with like stem cells, right? Like, because I also read the Phoenix Protocol as well, because of your recommendation. Like great book. And of course, you have to be wise when you are also reading all of these different books, because like the way he's recommending to break the fast and everything, and like he's talking, there's some ideas that are like the mainstream ideas, the protein, more proteins and things like that, which is like take what is the valuable stuff, and like understand what else is like it's not gonna work out, because that's how like so many people are doing yo-yo diets and trying different things. But then like we have to really like have enough information and wisdom, like to really to distinguish between like what is true and what is not true as well. And in terms of fasting as well, when you're fasting, you're probably sleeping less as well, right? Because you have that extra energy available.
Correct. I think that's something everybody will experience on a fast. Your sleep, you can expect your sleep to be a bit disturbed. Disturbed is the wrong word. It's just that you will need far less. You'll need less sleep, and so it might be harder for you to get good quality sleep all throughout the night like you normally would if you're regularly eating. You would probably see the same thing if you so for people out there listening, you could do a little test. Stop eating by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Try this one day. Just stop eating by 2 o'clock in the afternoon and see what that does to your sleep. You'll probably need less. You'll probably be up early in the morning, like, woo, ready to go, right? And that's just off not eating late one day. So you can imagine you compound that with a fast or water fast. And you might be a bit wakeful. You might not get that full 8 hour, 6 hour sleep, whatever it is. So I still experience that, and I think a lot of people will as well. And it's just because your body is doing less operations, right? Less digestive work. So you save a lot of that energy, and so it translates into needing a little bit less rest when you're in bed. But that doesn't mean that you should wake up in the middle of the night and just go running around or walking around and spending a lot of time in front of the screen or what. And you should just rest as much as possible. That includes screen time. It does include screen time. I'm guilty of it as well during a fast sometimes. Yeah, you know, you free up a lot of time. It feels like the best time to just go and watch a movie. Sure, I get it. I do it
Edit
too.
all the
Right?
videos.
Yeah. I'm not perfect, but ideally, I'm speaking in ideal situations. Yeah, it would be better for you to just not do any of that and then to relax, be left to your own mental devices. Do some mental work, come up with interesting scenarios, think about what you'd like to see in your life, think of how that would happen, work out some problems, just, you know, be to yourself. And that's the best way to fast. When you do have energy and it is nighttime and you find that your sleep is a bit disturbed, right? So so that's a good point.
But also, I also noticed one thing, that it might be that like you might even sleep even more because your body, it depends on where you're coming from as well. In my case also, yeah. In my case also is what I noticed, that when I'm still in the phase where I need lots of sleep. Sometimes I sleep even 10 hours, 11 hours. Sometimes it could be even 12 hours. It depends on where you're coming from and like, you know, what is happening within your body, because it's very important to listen to, like, you know, what is your how is your body responding to different things, because in many cases people will be undersleeping for, like, you know, very long periods of time, and then what happens is they get some rest, and then they automatically their body will be using that as opportunity to catch up with all of the, like, you know, extra energy that we wasted before, or maybe, like, you know, basically, like, you know, our organs also, like, you know, our adrenals and kidneys, right, they can be working in, like, you know, overtime sometimes, and they also will need rest. So it's very important that, like, even when people go from coffee to not drinking coffee, right, like, you know, they could be overstimulated, and it takes time for them to go back to their natural rhythms, and that's why it's important that, like, you know, we are not pushing ourselves, and we are allowing our bodies to really tell us as well what to do, right? Do you agree as well that we should be listening to our bodies in these cases?
Yes. And two things I wanted to say with that. Yeah. So what I was just saying with having your sleep disrupted during the fast, this is true. However, remember that the longer you go, so if we're getting into the 6-day, 7-day water fast, 8-day, 10-day water fast, okay, at that point you're starting to get into the depths of healing, and you might be, like you said, lying in bed for way longer, right? Because you're physically, your body is just going to want to not do too much. Okay, so even though you might be mentally alert and you're not like unconscious for those whole 10 hours, you're just not going to want to move. Like, it'll just be rest mode 100%. Like, your physical body will not want to get you out of bed for a much longer portion of the day. Even if up here mentally you're awake and alert, you're just not going to want to move. So that will happen the longer you go into the fast, the deeper you go into the fast. And so, yeah, being in bed 10 hours to 11 hours in the day, even more sometimes, that is quite normal, right? So there's that to add to the picture. I didn't mention it earlier, so I'm glad you brought that up. And yes, we should be listening to our bodies. Like, our bodies are telling us very key things at every moment of the day. When we're in the regular modality of eating, however, so when we're just doing a regular day-to-day thing, what I would say is that we have to earn the right to listen to our bodies, right? Yes. Because our bodies can deceive us because of the behaviors that we do. Coffee drinking is probably the best example that you could bring up, right? When it comes to, because if you're the coffee drinker, the everyday coffee drinker, and I tell the everyday coffee drinker, listen to your body, what do you think is going to happen, right? He's going to listen to his body, or she's going to listen to their body, drink tons of coffee every day, and they're just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, right? So, yeah, listen to your body, but the thing is that that's a privilege that has to be earned. by refining and tailoring and being good to yourself and knowing what is good nutrition, what is a good diet to eat for your physiology and what isn't. Understand the difference between right and wrong, understand the difference between what is ideal food and less ideal, all that stuff, right? So all of that, once you start living in that way, now your body becomes a much more reliable source of information, because the vast majority of people, their bodies are not reliable sources of information and feedback. You need to get rid of all of the offending influences before your body's signals are clear and pure and true, right? So yes, listening to your body is good advice, but you way too often you hear people who just eat whatever and do whatever, and they say, oh, I'm just going to listen to my body, and it's it's telling me to have a little bit of kombucha now. It's just, okay, we're not ready to be listening to our bodies, right? Okay. So it's like, something that has to be,
it's like you go to the shop and then there's different basically chips, and they're just different colors of packets now. You're like, oh, today I feel like red packet is more conducive to my health.
I'm just going to listen to my body, and I'm going to have some chips and pretzels, and then I'll go to the exhibition, and then I'll have some ice cream. I'm just listening to my body. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Yes. I know. Because the marketing agencies, they figured out how, they just use colors of packaging, to imitate fruit, actually, when you think about it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's your body might be requiring more nutrients from this red. If you might find apples and you saw red apple, maybe red apple would be very nice, right? So that day you eat a red packet of chips or a red packet of ice cream or whatever, It's like...
Yes, I know. The most, if I had to think of the most consistent joke that people make, when they talk to me or whatnot, is they always bring up wine drinking. They're like, have some wine, it's just fruit. Eli, have wine, it's just fruit. Have some wine, it's just fruit. I hear that 24/7 every day, all the time. And it's funny because it's exactly that, right? It's things that humans do to food to fool ourselves, right? Fruit tasting or fruit colored this or fruit tasting candy or whatever. It's like, why are they using fruit to simulate the right flavor and give you this candy? Why are they doing that? They're doing it because they're hijacking your natural sensitivities to those flavors, right? So you might as well just have those flavors in their natural form instead of the fake way. You might as well. It's so funny. What we're doing here, it seems drastic, it seems restrictive, but really, when you think about it, it's like, what could be more natural? What could be more self-intuitive? What could be more common sense, right?
Yeah.
Fruit flavored cigarettes. Screw the cigarette. Just eat the bloody apple. Whatever. You know what I mean? It's
yes, exactly. No, I did 60 days of watermelon only, and after that, I kept on eating watermelon. Woo! It was like people would think that if in reality, if it was really so restrictive, by the time you were done with 2 months of eating only one thing entire time, you would be sick of that thing. If you take anything, I saw on YouTube, one channel, the guy was trying to eat the beans in his own weight, right? The canned beans he was having.
Yes.
He was getting sicker and sicker all the time. And then what happened that at the end of it, he started eating everything, and it's beans he couldn't he was really forcing himself, right? For me, whenever I do any kind of cleansing, it's not like I'm getting sick from that thing, right? From watermelon or if I decide to do orange cleanse or something like that. I never get sick from that. It's at the end of it, I still gonna be I can still eat it. And it's if I don't have that fruit particular, I can go to other fruit, right? It's not you become addicted to watermelon or something like that.
Yes.
You go and
Yeah,
eat like
absolutely.
honey melon, honey juice, or cantaloupes, or even not even that, like papayas, whatever you feel like, you know. So it's like,
Whatever.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. Yeah, and it's such a stark difference between cleansing, mono cleansing on actual food that's designed for you, and doing some other food challenge on something else that's insuitable. Oh, the difference is night and day, right? It's night and day. Uh,
Methodical cleanse.
yeah, you know, if I were straddled with eating only mangoes or eating only watermelon for an entire year, you'd probably just be really damn healthy by the end of that year. And by the end, if it came time to change into another food, yeah, it would be exciting and it would be fun. But there would be part of you that'd be like, I really don't want to get off these mangoes or this water or whatever the cleanse is, right? It's interesting because with other types of cleanses, you do find that you might be like burnt out a little bit and like, this isn't that great. I mean, even way back in the day when I was eating anything goes, like anything goes diet. Like most kids, pizza is a very favorite food to eat, right? But if you gave me pizza every single day, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, pizza, man, it wouldn't take very long before you're like, I don't want to see pizza ever again. It would just be way too much. It would just be way too much. But that's not the case with watermelon. Or grapes. I did the grape cleanse for what was it, a month or so. And man, it's just like every single meal, I'm like, these are the best grapes I've ever had in my life. And then the next day, these are the best damn grapes I've ever had. I want to keep, man, this feels so good. I want to keep doing this, right? You feel better and better and better and better. By the end of the grape cleanse, it's like, I'm going to eat other food, but man, I don't want to. These grapes are fantastic, right? It really is amazing. And it's not restrictive. It seems like it's restrictive, but you have to do it. You just have to actually try it yourself and see what it feels like. And when you start to feel the effects, then you'll get it. Then it clicks. Then it makes sense. Like, oh, I see. It's not that I'm being restricted. It's just that you want to do this type of disciplinary behavior because it brings out the best. I get it. You get addicted to feeling good. That's the secret. That's the key, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
I would really like to reiterate that one because I think that's one of the most powerful reason why I'm doing it is because you get addicted to that good feeling and then you're like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to feel bad, at all. Yeah.
Something I hear all the time, like, oh man, you don't know what you're missing. Your friends say, oh man, you don't know what you're missing. My brother says that, says that very often. Like, oh man, you don't know what you're missing. I'm like, no, I know exactly what I'm missing. I know exactly what I'm missing. And I'm choosing not to do those things for a very particular reason, right? And but that takes time. It takes time to get yourself to a place where you've done enough trial and error. You've had enough experiments going back to the old food and feeling what it feels like, and then you're okay. Yeah, it's the same predictable result. Like, okay, for example, avocados. Avocados are a fruit. Nothing wrong with them. It's all good, but it's just not ideal because it's just so encumbering. The fat content is just so high, it's so rich that in a clean body, it just tends to slow things down if you eat enough of it, right? And so I've done enough going back and trying, high fat foods. And it's just that I don't do them much anymore because it just feels so much better to not do that. And so, yeah, it's not it doesn't take a lot of discipline, at some raw gourmet meal where, they've got a lot of, I don't know, high fat rich food. It's not a huge disciplinary thing to say, no, thanks. Because you've done it enough times that and you get addicted to that feeling of feeling good, right?
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, just a couple of days ago, I had some raw food, raw gourmet stuff, and it was fantastic. I didn't have that much of it, so I wasn't too set back the next day. But yeah, you're always going to feel better doing the simplest thing, and I like the feeling of feeling good and better and my best, right? So that's just what I stick to most all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we are also not saying to anyone that like you should only eat fruit and then like only one thing at a time all the time. It's like there are times where you want to experiment or you want to do things for the experience itself. It's like it's really important. And of course, when you have enough experience with that, like you were saying, that you understand how it feels not to do, I would say, those kind of things, right? Even if you, for example, you're not having any salt, right? So even if you added a little bit of salt in your salad, right? That you would have such a big difference. You would feel that difference, right? And of course, like someone who's having salt all the time, they for them be like, oh, it's like it doesn't affect me at all, But if they get off of it for some time, like our clients also, because we're doing a lot of coaching in Kartika, our clients, when they do like some, especially like when you do juice cleansing, you will not be adding salt to their juices. It's like, it doesn't make much sense. So me and Kartika, we actually were doing some things like that. We did the coconut. We were making coconut milk at the end of the day.
You did not know at that time.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was not the best. But because of Kartika, we were doing it together and everything. We can adjust a little bit things, right? So what we were doing, we're making coconut, we're getting tender coconut, drinking the water, and then we're getting all of this called, so to speak, coconut meats. And then we would make put it to the juicer, we'd soak it in water, put it to the juicer, and then basically
make a concoction with like salt and spices with
add
like
fat. Add like black salt, add some spices to it and stuff. And drink it. Yeah.
Make like a coconut juice.
Yeah. So
coconut meat juice.
Yes. And it's because the salt is so addictive, So people might adjust their juice cleanse like that. But with our clients, we tell them no salt, right? Like so no one is really adding salt. And if you're doing fruit juices, you will not be adding salt. Like that's like that would be a bit of atrocity.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Yes. But basically, like when you get off it for some time, like people in 2-3 days without salt, like you can see it in their faces, you can see it in their energy levels, you can see it in their like the entire being changes, like the face like shrinks down, like we have session let's say Monday, and then session Thursday, we meet Thursday maybe. In these 3 days, we're like, oh my god, this
like
is
glowing and then
different person already.
Yeah.
Such a big difference, and people are like feeling good, like feeling more energized and everything. It's because you put something that dehydrates you, and then you remove that from your diet. You're getting more hydrated just by like drinking more juices, but also not adding that salt. Also, it's like people feel amazing. But of course, even the salt, when you get off salt for long enough, you might also have cravings. So if someone is consuming big amounts, also we don't recommend to like just drop it like that, because like if you drink taking 20 grams of salt every day or something like that, or 30 grams of salt every day, and you go to zero, the thing when it starts coming out, it can be like it could be a bit harsh for people as well. It's important that people are not jumping into things too fast as well. Like that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It does take time. Sorry, go ahead, Kartika, go ahead.
I think I was just gonna ask you another question on like I have watched so many of your videos in which you're talking about your experiences where you go into the sun and you have had like really amazing astral projections and then dreams where you've met like angels and guides. I would also love you to like express on those areas how your body cleansing has helped those experiences and some experiences that you would like to share with us.
Okay. Yeah. So in terms of how your diet affects your non-physical activities, I'd say the best way to encapsulate that is you have less nervous stimulation, right? When stimulants leave your body, when you go to rest in the evening, it's going to be way easier for you to be at ease and be just calm. Like your nervous system isn't just firing with all these, stimulated foods. If you eat animal products, you've got all the hormones racing through your body. Okay, salt, right? Stimulant, coffees, teas, all this kind of stuff. Okay, you leave all of that in last week, right? You just leave all that behind. All of a sudden now, when you go to sleep or you go to lie down, your mind is less affected by these types of really stimulating foods, and you're able to just breathe calmly and relax and with less excitation. Okay, so there's more to the story than that, obviously, but that's just one of the ways I would put it to people listening. So your diet definitely does affect your non-physical self. It's all connected. There's no clear distinction to be made between your physical self, your mental self, and your astral self, or your higher spiritual self. All your bodies are all connected and fused. So change you make on one is going to irrevocably make differences and changes on another. Okay, so they're all connected. And yes, I did notice that as my diet cleaned up, I had deeper dreams, richer dreams, more meaningful dreams, and an easier time having out-of-body experiences and astral projection experiences. So every time you do have one of them, it's always very, very memorable. It's such a, oh God, it's such a, we've talked about being empowered, feeling empowered. Man, that is one of the most empowering things, to have your mind connected at every step of the journey, where your astral self leaves and you're aware of it, and you send it somewhere to go do work or to have some experience, and then you're aware of it coming back. I mean, it feels like a superpower where you can just, oh God, like Professor Xavier or something from X-Men. You're just able to do this incredible feat of broadcasting and sending yourself out into this magical world where you do work, and you can bring all of that back into your physical body so that you know that you did it and remember. Man, that is some powerful stuff. It is so powerful. And it'll enhance the quality of your life like nothing else can. So, we're getting into the bit of the metaphysical, but I highly recommend that people, explore this power that lies hidden within us, because once you start to play with it, it can really do wonders for you. Really, really, really do wonders for you in terms of waking up your energy centers, because all your energy centers play a role in this. And the more you're able to do that, the more they start to activate and come online.
Yes. And you also, I would like to say that you don't necessarily have to get into, perfect diet, or
Correct.
You can do it from wherever you are. It doesn't have to be that you, like, oh, I'm not eating as good as, or I'm not as healthy as this someone else. It's not an excuse, because I was doing that also on quite a bad diet,
Yes.
Also eating Snickers and everything goes kind of diet, and I was also doing astral projection as well at that time, because it's like a practice that you can start. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Is that
exactly
correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that, because it's absolutely true. No, you don't have to have accomplished the regimented diet in order to astral project. Anybody can do it. It's just that it helps. Because and it helps because, like we were saying, all the bodies are connected. So if you start to get really, really good at astral projection, it starts to improve everything else. It might even improve your diet or your health, your internal health, right? Without actually changing what you put into your body. Obviously, what you put into your body makes a difference, but if you make all the changes at the same time, okay, now you're just getting a much better result. But you don't need to be on any particular diet at all for you to be an astral projector, right? It just requires the right mindset, the right orientation. Because a lot of people, well, I would say most people astral project accidentally, right? That's how most people get started. They have a couple accidental astral projections. They say, oh my God, what the heck was that? That was amazing. I want to do it again. And then they get interested in study and realize, oh my God, this is something that I can control, or learn to control at least. And then they go down the rabbit hole that way. So yeah, anybody can do it. But your diet does have a role to play. And the more you clean up the diet, the better condition you'll be in to have further astral projections in the future. And, you know, I've had lots of experiences with this. I've had experiences where I talked to my father. My father passed away like 9 years ago or so now. And I've had chances to actually interact with him and speak with him and hold him and hug him and have conversations just like, you know, just like we're having now. And that is, I mean, you want to talk about things that are special in life, like it doesn't get more special than that, you know, saying things and having feelings to your parent who's passed away that you didn't get to express when they were here on earth, right? And now you're given a chance to communicate with them again. Man, like that'll set your heart on fire. It'll set your heart on fire. So yeah, I couldn't speak highly enough about developing this, you know, this interest or this ability, you know. And there are going to be some people out there that say astral projection is the realm of demons and it's the realm of the metaphysical, and you know, we're not supposed to be using this power. It's you know, it's demonic. It's Satan. People will say all that stuff. You know,
Fear of the unknown.
Yeah, we have to be very mature about this kind of thing, right? As with everything in life, there are bad applications, there are good applications, right? You can walk down the street right now and be like, I'm living in this physical body right now, and I can go down the street and interact with physical people who are bad people, right? Bad people who might do me harm, bad people who might pull out a knife and try to attack me if I bother them enough. But me living in this body in the same realm that these other evil people live in doesn't mean that I am evil just because I'm in the same domain, right? Astral projection is the same. If you go and astral project and you go out looking for trouble, I astral project out of my body and say, all right, demons, where the heck are you guys? All right, come to me.
Show me what you...
Yeah, you might be inviting trouble, right? Just like I go onto the street and I start looking for drug dealers and looking for, you know, rapists and murderers, and I start punching people in the face for no reason, I will start to attract trouble in the physical world. So, you know, we have to be a bit mature about this, right? It's you know, life gives you the quality that you put into it, right? And as long as your intentions are good and clean and pure and well, and you're living under the principle of absolute right, you know, just do what is right, think what is right, feel what is right. These are powers that you can use to enhance the quality of your life and the quality of life of other people around you, and to unfold the best in spiritual evolution. And it is not evil, right? But it will be and can be if that is your choice, okay? Or if you have a fear-based approach, right, to these types of things, yeah, then you can attract people or entities, excuse me, that feed off of fear and, you know, blah blah blah. But this is so unlikely. This is so unlikely. If you're just the average person who has an accidental astral experience, you're fine. Just leave it at that. You're fine, okay? Without getting too detailed.
Wow. Today, I was watching an interview in which this guy, he dry fasted for 20 days, and then he had this experience. Huh?
Oh no, that's
Okay.
awesome. It's crazy. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then he had this experience in which he was talking about, like I think this is the third time he did it. 2 times he had like really angelic experiences, very beautiful. But in the third one, he had these like dark experiences, and he was talking about how, like, you know, some people would have this ancestral energy that would be there, and kind of like it plays a role in that. But I was probably thinking that probably like it might be like, you know, to do with his own experience, and it's not something that is a given, you know, for everyone to go through.
Yeah, definitely not. No. You know, these experiences, especially when you're getting into the depths of a fast, who knows? You could be, because the energy that you have at your disposal in the spiritual sense is greatly enhanced on a fast, which is why you get the story of the yogi or the Buddha under the tree fasting for 40 days, and they use that as a way to catalyze spiritual evolution. Why? Because fasting draws more energy to your higher spiritual centers, right? This isn't new. We've known this for thousands of years. So when you get into those depths of fasting, yeah, there's lots of stuff that can happen. He could be pulling up old emotional, how do I say this? Emotional or mental poisons or bad impressions from the past that got locked into his physical body in some way, and it's the fast that starts to loosen those mental impressions or frequencies or patterns, right? You can have a cell, right? If you have a cell and you have a bad emotion or a bad experience, you can affix or hardwire negative feelings to that cell that carry around that cell and associated cells for a long time before they're released by a cleanse or by mental reform or psychological techniques or whatnot. So maybe it's something like that. Maybe he just released a negative emotion from his body in some way. Maybe not. Maybe it was something else. Maybe in his dream state or the astral state, maybe some other entity got attracted to his emotional state and came to investigate or ask a question or just see what was happening. Who knows, right? It's hard to tell. But yeah, that's not, everyone isn't going to experience that. Some people will experience different things. So it's a very subjective thing because we've all led very particular lives and we've had very particular experiences, subjected our bodies to all sorts of very particular things that only we have in our life. So the way we detox and cleanse, it's going to be very different, for everybody.
Yes. Okay. That definitely answers the question. So I actually wanted to ask you, last time also I asked you this question, which is, do you see yourself as a breatharian? And I have myself come so ahead in the journey, like where I am more aware of like this kind of like, progression in life. So what is your take now? Like, and you actually had an interview also with the breatharian. So just to know.
Yeah, we've been having we've been having some really great interviews. I do have a couple more from him that I'm editing right now. And they're very, very useful, very, very helpful. I would say, yeah, in the end, at some point, yes, if that's where the simplicity kind of takes me, if that's where the refining process takes me, that's something that I feel I'd really like to experience myself. But what I would say is that I would never rush that process. So I would have to wait until my body really tells me that the next step is forthcoming. So the next step with me would be like a liquidarian thing where I'm just, doing mostly liquids and I'm comfortable doing that for extended periods of time. But the average person can already do this, right? We can already go for like 100 days, 200 days on liquids. It's amazing, right? Human body's amazing, right? So we can already do this. But it's different when it's not a cleanse, right? It's different when it's a lifestyle approach. And so once I'm comfortable living in that way, then that'll be the indication that I'm getting ready for possibly something higher later on. So I would never rush that operation. I would let it unfold very, very slowly and only move at a progression where I'm being told very, very firmly that the next step is now forthcoming, right? But it is always something that has really fascinated me. I've also been through all of Hilton Hotema's work, like many of his books, and there's lots of stuff in there that shows us that this type of thing is possible. But it's just what we would in the Sunfire dialogues that I've been playing with now with Genesis Sunfire, what he's bringing to the table is there's a humbling reality that we have to appreciate, where this type of thing is less immediately accessible by the average person than we like to imagine, right? It's not something that we can just jump into in any quick time frame, right? This is a lifestyle approach where you need to really, really chip away at, at refining yourself before you even consider something like a, like a breatharian lifestyle, if you want it to be sustainable. And, he would say that really there isn't an ideal state where you can live indefinitely on just breath. That's where he is coming from. And we kind of hashed out that what it is that it's like a tool that you use to, at a certain time of your life, where you use that tool for a certain period of time, your body might call you back a step later on, and then you go back to breatharian, then back to liquidarian, and so on and so forth, depending on what your body tells you is best for you, right? So there definitely is some magic here that is an untapped magic that our bodies can access. And I'm very eager to feel what that's like, right, and experience that for myself. And that is something that I see in the future, but I definitely wouldn't rush the process. So I'll just take it, one step at a time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Also, like, I'm on similar journey, so to speak. And yeah, I've been following like people like Eli, for example, and listening to the perspective and going really in depth into that also, and also reading now the man's hair consciousness. It's really inspiring, and why right now at this moment also, I don't really have any desire for solid food anymore. So like, even right now, I'm not planning to really going back to solid food. Of course, like, if my body tells me like, go back to solid food, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But at the moment right now, what I'm trying to do is trying to make it like more efficient, because I saw that when you did your 90 days juice cleanse, you were drinking on average maybe about 2 liters of juice every day. No, it was like quite slow.
Yeah, it wasn't an excessive amount. Yeah, it definitely wasn't the amount that you would hear on average you need, right? Like, I was not downing just juice all day. No, I didn't do that.
Yeah. So even though I do it in a very short period, I do usually 2 meals of juices in a day. I still consume like around 4 to 5 liters in a day.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's quite a big amount. But in beginning, I was doing more like 7 liters. I was doing more denser juices. Right now, I go only watermelon, and sometimes I go sometimes do some more dry fasting, and sometimes I have like maybe one juice in a day, which is like maybe 3 liters in one go. I can drink. But I like at the moment also, I want to slowly reduce it, and I'm listening to my body as well. And even though like I can smell in my urine in the morning, especially, that's like it has very strong smell. So that means that my body is still like cleansing a lot, and it requires juice. But eventually, like once that cleansing is how to say done, so to speak, then I can see that my requirement also will reduce. And it's not about that much of that energy that is required. It's more about that the other needs for the body, because my body is using a lot of that juice to remove all of these things from my body. So yeah, so and also the Breatharian journey is really amazing in the sense that like it's like it's a stepping process. You cannot really jump big leaps. And I watched your also this Sunfire interview about Detox as well, and I can definitely see that Detox, you have to be really gentle with that, and you have to really give it time, because I understand that from your perspective, like you came from a really long transition. For me also, like I became vegetarian 10 years back, and then vegan I became 5 years back, and then at the same time I started going towards raw foods and everything. So it's like the transition for me also was happening last 10 years as well. I came from bodybuilding perspective when I was 16. That's like 14 years back. I started bodybuilding, and I was I got like my weight to 86 kilos now, which is like is like almost like almost 30 kilos more than it is now.
Yeah. Wow. Holy smokes. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And at that time, I was eating like 7 times in a day, and my nutrition knowledge was more about like protein and eat many times in a day, how to gain more
Yeah.
weight, how to gain more strength. So it came from a completely different perspective also. So and like from that point, it was long transition until like this point. So it's like very it's very important that like that transition happens, because like otherwise people like just I want to be vegetarian, and you did yourself like 8 days of dry fasting and everything, and there is initiations where people go and do like 4 days of dry fasting, and then like oh yeah, I'm vegetarian right now. It's like
Yeah.
really like so quick. Like I mean, you came from just like a regular diet and you just like become vegetarian so quick. It's like
Yeah.
how is that possible? Understand there is some part like that there is it's kind of like that comes more from the spiritual aspect as well, right? The people come from like even like very bad diets, just because they work really with their spiritual aspect like so much, they're able to kind of like maybe make that kind of leap. But in many cases, like I don't see that people can do it sustainably, like especially like if you are just jumping from eat everything diet and you find out, oh, that I can be vegetarian, I don't have to eat food anymore. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll get like let's go for a retreat, and then like
Yeah.
later I'm vegetarian. I don't see that like that happening like in for the most part. 9% of the times I think it's not really the case. What do you think
Yes.
about that?
Yes. Yeah. I would agree. The vast majority of us are going to be subject to physical laws that are very hard to extricate ourselves from. Yes, there is that thing where there are higher laws that overrule the lower laws. There is that thing. We've known of practitioners in occult schools that can do incredible feats of feats that would just stagger the mind. You've had people that can like burn, hold a piece of paper in their hand and they burn it just by giving it and sending it the right energy and the right thought. Right now, that is something that really we can't conventionally explain. It seems to be operating on some higher law that overrides physical laws that we know about combustion and fire, right? And if that's possible, we have to imagine that, okay, well, if things like that are possible, then it might be that we could override some laws when it comes to being something like a breatharian, right? With some sort of intense spiritual or mental prowess where it overrides the physical rules and laws, or at least finds a way around them or whatnot, right? So I have to understand, or I have to be accepting that that is a possibility, right? Because we've seen people do just incredible things. We've all heard that story about the mother whose child is trapped under the van, and she pulls the van up and pulls the child out with strength that she doesn't have, right? So, things like that. These things happen. These things do happen, and the only way to explain them is that they gain access to a set of laws that are higher than the physical laws. But it's just that getting to that place can be very difficult for the average person. So just like you said, the vast majority of us are going to have to be comfortable with understanding the physical laws and using them to our advantage, right? While working with those laws and accessing whatever spiritual laws that we can at our disposal. And then working to the ultimate goal that we set out for ourselves. But yeah, what I'm saying is, sorry, I know I'm how do I rephrase this so I can be a bit more coherent? Yeah, like I said, there's a small percentage of time where you do have some sort of fantastic access to these higher laws that override the physical, but most of us, we're going to need to do the slow grind approach where we use the physical laws to our advantage, right? I guess I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And I believe also most of the masters also who do these incredible things, they dedicated life towards working towards that also. So it's not like you're all of a sudden kind of like throw a dice and you're like win the lottery and things like that. it's
Yeah.
still to subject to these kind of like
Disciplines and
limits and disciplines, and like basically
Right.
we still have to do all of that work. So
Right.
even though there's higher laws as well, there will be also laws as well, right? It's not like you suddenly like I mean, can happen probably as well, but in most cases, like there is a reason why it happens also. It's not.
Yeah.
It's never really that randomly, like someone gains abilities for no reason. It's very possible that maybe even from their past lives, it's something that's coming as well. So it's like maybe you did your work way before, and then like and now you're reaping the benefits, but someone else comes in like, oh man, this guy is like 5 years old and he can remember his past life. How do you do it? It's like it's because like something happened. Like there's some reason for that also. So it's like and when people cannot explain it, then they tend to see it as like something that is like maybe impossible, and they call it in different names and everything. Like, but
Right.
eventually there is a reason for everything, I believe as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. We cannot escape the law of cause and effect, right? If that child who's displaying some sort of miraculous ability has that miraculous ability, there's got to be a cause for that. And sometimes the cause is just so far outside of our ability to perceive that we just don't know. And then we come up with some other excuse or some rationalization. But yeah, it could very well be that they put in the work to have that effect, but it just wasn't in that particular lifetime, some lifetime before, right? And so their spirit has grown to a certain extent and has now exported that growth and development into the next life, and you get the miracle child, right? So yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And with the work of the masters and the work of the adepts, you got to remember, these people have devoted their lives. You guys are still there. Okay, just the power. You guys are still there. Yeah. So these people have devoted their lives, right, to the pursuit of spiritual excellence. And so if we imagine that we're going to get that same level of excellence by still doing things like playing video games and having coffee on Saturdays, and okay, no, this is unrealistic. You have to tailor your life to very, very, very high levels of attainment and achievement if you want to achieve the same things that the masters are achieving, right? So it comes down to being a bit realistic in that sense, right? Like some of these people, they've given up everything. They've come to a place of understanding of such depth of that oneness, and they've given up everything. They're living in simplicity beyond simplicity beyond simplicity, and it's just another level, right? Some of these Tibetans or high-ranking adepts in esoteric schools. So yeah, we just have to be realistic, when it comes to achieving the highest without putting in the work that is required to get to the highest, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 2.5 hours already, I think. So I didn't realize
Has
it
it
all.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah. So probably I'd just like to
Wow. Wow.
We went, it's really amazing. Like went really deep topics, and it's I think it's going to be very useful for so many people. Like really people who are interested. It's like it's
That's
amazing.
fantastic. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm still kind of coming to terms with it's been 2 hours already. Jeez. Okay. Well, no, guys. I mean, yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Love you both, and it's really an honor to be invited here to talk with you guys again.
Yes. Yes.
The honor is
Completely ours. Yeah. And we're so grateful for your time and energy, like for so much knowledge and everything that you do as well on your channel and wherever you go with your energy. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And also your work with our freedoms and everything else, because like I know that you're also working a lot with in Canada with all of those things that we're not gonna really go in depth right now. But
Yeah.
that's also really amazing work that you do as well, and connecting with people and showing people, just being that light, being that example for everyone. It's really
Thank you.
impressed with like what's possible. Thank you for showing the to speak the way, and
Mhm.
very thankful for all of your lectures and all of your efforts. It is really gold. It's really like I'm really grateful to be your student as well.
Oh, geez.
Well,
Oh,
Sitting there in
okay.
that classroom all the time, man.
Oh,
You cannot see me, but I'm there.
oh, you guys are too kind. You guys are too kind. I'm so flattered and honored. Thank you so much. And like I was saying at the beginning, uh, I don't even see it that way. I see all of us being students in the same classroom of
Correct.
the universal conscious, the universal spirit. We're all learning from that oneness together, and we're learning right now as we're doing this, and we're always going to be learning, right? So we're just might as well do it together instead of separate. So,
Exactly.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. Yeah, thank you guys.
thank you so much, Eli, from the bottom of my heart. And I wish you a very, very lovely day and stay connected. Keep
We
doing
will.
whatever you're doing. And thank you so much for your time also today. Really,
No
really,
problem.
really grateful for it. Yes.
No problem. No problem. Thank you so much, guys. All right. Thanks for listening,
Love
everyone out there,
you.
and
Thank you.
we'll see you next time.
Love you so
See
much.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. Take care.